to everyone. This is our 2025 Norwood Meet the Candidates evening. We're glad that you're here and you want to learn a little bit more about those that are seeking to serve our community. Each candidate will have an opportunity for a few minutes to introduce themselves and share their platform before we open the floor for questions. So just a few things to consider and remember: that we ask you to be respectful, to listen attentively, and to help us keep the evening running smoothly by adhering to our time limits for questions and responses. So we really appreciate those of you who had an opportunity to fill out a question in advance. What we'll do is I'll read those. Some of those are directed to all or specific candidates. So I want to turn the mic over to Ron Murphy. He's going to be our moderator for the evening. So let's give it up for Ron. While Ron's coming up, also we can get a big round of applause for the Norwood Fire Department that's outside grilling dinner. Thank you. And Norwood Community Television, thank you very much for showing up as well.
So, did you talk about the 3 minutes, right?
2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. We're going to try to get back on schedule here, but we're going to call up now all of the candidates. So if we could have the school board candidates for school board to come up, and then we're just going to have everybody sit up here. So any candidate that's running for school board? All right. Is that the only one that showed up? The only one who showed up? All right. So that'll help us get back on the schedule. The council candidates, first the ward candidates come up and have a seat, please. Right. And then the at-large candidates, if you could come up and have a seat. We should have plenty of seats. And finally, the two judicial candidates. If they can have a seat. So that should be it. We're going to get it started in just a minute, but we are going to call them in that order. So we'll have the school board candidates go first. Again, you get about 3 minutes. I do have a timer, so if you hear the timer going off, just wrap it up so we can get back on pace with our schedule so we're not here all night. After the school board, which is, it's it, right? It's you, Brian? All right, so after that.
Well, we're going to introduce somebody.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. After that, then we'll go through the ward candidates at large, and then finish with the judicial candidates. All right? Okay. Well, thanks. If you want to come up.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, that was loud. Sorry about that. So my name is Brandon Atwood. I am currently running for Board of Education for the Norwood City School District. There are 3 of us running for 3 seats. So it's an uncontested election. I will take just a couple of moments just to talk about all 3 candidates. So myself and Amber Ballard have both served 2 terms. We're finishing our 8th year of service to the community, so we'll be asking the community for 4 more years. And Mike Taylor, who is the 3rd candidate, he's finishing up his 1st term. So we have 2 8-year candidates and 1 4-year candidate that's asking for another 4 years. So while I still have a couple of minutes, I would like to introduce Eleni Towner. Eleni was recently appointed to the vacated seat left by Debbie Cole a couple of months ago. So I don't know, Eleni, do you just want to say hi and say a few words? I'll turn it over to her, and thank you so much for coming.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Eleni Towner. I am currently on the board appointed to Debbie Cole's seat for 2 years. I have 2 daughters that are in elementary school in the Norwood City School District, and we are loving it so far. We've lived here for 7 years and have just been really excited about everything that the community has to offer. And the only thing that I would say is that I would love to hear from current residents, parents of children who go to our schools, parents of children who don't go to our schools, to learn what works well for you, what doesn't, and what would you love to see for the future of our school district. Thanks, everybody.
We'll rotate, so we'll go with Ward 1, and we'll ask for the Democratic. Oh, you're running unopposed? Oh, yeah, we're gonna make up some time here.
Yeah. I'll try to keep it fairly short. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to be here with us, and thank you to our wonderful organizers for putting this event on every election year. I'm not ignoring you all on my phone, but I've got a couple notes I'm going to stick to. My name is Sam Bowling, and I'm running for re-election in Ward 1 on Norwood City Council. Over the last term, I've worked hard to make sure that city government is more transparent, more responsive, and more rooted in the community. I have chaired the Small Business Committee, coordinated citywide pride celebrations that have helped to uplift local entrepreneurs, and have pushed for policies that make everyone feel welcome in Norwood. I am super proud, and I've said it before if you've ever heard me speak, to be the first openly queer elected official within our city. But thank you, we love a cheer for that. But I'm even more proud of how our community has rallied behind inclusion and growth in our city. My focus has been and will continue to be on practical progress. Rome was not built in a day, and change will not be made that way either. I'm here to support small business, to improve public spaces, and to strengthen partnerships between residents and city leadership. Looking ahead at the next term, after this incredibly challenging, difficult race where we will be highly contested, I want to modernize and continue to modernize how Norwood grows. I'd like to ensure that we support development that reflects our community values. I'd like to work to keep our community safe, welcoming, and walkable. And I would love to make sure that residents have a real voice in shaping the future of Norwood. I believe that good government listens, learns, and leads with transparency. And that's the kind of mentality I bring to council. That's also the kind of Norwood that I'm committed to building. One where everyone belongs and one where everybody has a voice to be heard at the table. Thanks so much.
Okay, we'll go to Ward 2 now, and we'll start with the Republican candidate for Ward 2. And just make sure you keep the mic close to your face, like I am now.
If I keep it too close, I might scare some people off. Hi, I'm Pat Dowling, running for Republican Ward 2 candidate. Just a little bit about myself. I've been in Norwood since 2015. I'm the father of 8, a husband. Right now, I volunteer at my church as a treasurer, and I'm running for city council. We see my youngest child graduated from Norwood in 2021 during the COVID years, which was terrible. So, Board of Education, let's not have that happen again. Infrastructure is probably one of the things dearest to all of us. We're going to work on infrastructure. One thing I'd especially like to see, even because it's probably not as important as the roads, is to improve our sidewalks. I'd like to propose at some point in time that maybe the city and residents can work together to redo our sidewalks. Maybe Norwood can get a contractor with some better terms that we can get individually, and we can all improve our sidewalks. Number 2, small businesses. It is very difficult to start a small business here in Norwood. We got to improve that process. We've got to let businesses have signs. We've got to make it easier, streamline the processes for businesses to get here. We have a lot of empty buildings on Montgomery Road and a whole bunch in other places. We've got to fill them up to help all ourselves. And third, safety. Safety is very important. We in Norwood are blessed to have wonderful police and fire. We don't have a lot of the crime you hear on the news all the time, and continue to support all of them. I believe our residents have a very real right to be participative in the government, and we need to let them participate more and encourage them to get to city council meetings and talk at city council meetings and provide feedback, etc. That's it.
All right. All right, Ward 2.
Good evening. My name is John Moore, and I'm currently serving as the Ward 2 rep on Norwood City Council, appointed to fill Candace Winterbauer's spot back in February. And my reason for wanting to run comes to this mission of wanting to make Norwood the best place it can be, most family-friendly place it can be, where kids can have an independent childhood and adults can age gracefully in place. Now, back in 2020, I was running a podcast called Move Norwood Forward, and I set out to do a community survey. Distributed all over town, got more than 200 responses, and the question that really stood out to me in looking at it was, if you don't still live in Norwood in 5 years, what will be the most likely reason that you leave? And believe it or not, it wasn't the streets, but it was actually people didn't see whether or not they would want to raise their family in Norwood or, want to have their kids go through. And to me, that broke my heart because this is exactly the kind of community that I think could thrive in developing amazing young people who are independent, free range, out having fun, and I really want to bring that to the forefront because it's so much more than the schools. It's really the whole ecosystem around having a great childhood. Sort of in that same vein, I was looking through census data recently, which it was interesting to look back 20 years, back to the 2000 census, and see that Norwood has lost 41% of its kids, school-age kids, over that time period. And to me, that's really a sad thing. Basically the sentiment there is that Norwood isn't a great place to grow up. Sure, the city overall has lost 12%, but 41% of the kids, it's just an amazing fall off. And so as I think about Norwood and I think about Ward 2, there's a lot of young professionals moving in, there's a lot of homes being remodeled, things of that sort, and people are asking themselves the question, did I just buy a starter home here, or is this the community that I'm gonna live in for the generation to come? And that is what I wanna work for while on council. And so what does that look like? Well, if we've got any movie or TV buffs in the room, I think about this TV show, The Wonder Years, or I think about the movie The Goonies. Sometimes, Mr. Mayor, your stories kind of remind me of these things, riding your bike down to the pool. And I think that's just an amazing thing. So it's about having an independent childhood where you go out, you have fun, kind of like we saw in the parking lot up here. You come home when the street lights come on. And there's, I think, some very specific things that the city, it's within their purview to do, that can play into that. So first of all is safety, continuing to support police and fire, getting in the trenches with them, doing ride-alongs, understanding their world. Having a safe built environment, streets, right? My kid gets off on his scooter, he's 4 years old, and my heart skips a beat worrying that he's gonna go crashing off. I think in that, when he gets on his scooter, having places to go, there's lots of storefronts along Williams Avenue that are really important, that I think that we activate those and give people a baseball card shop, as well as investing in parks and rec programs and the community center. Then the other two things I'll say are just that the collaboration with the school board, that is a big opportunity, and having a strategic plan for Norwood so that big decisions are tethered to something. They're not one by one, but there's a master vision of where we're going. And so overall, this is a picture of a strong community across a whole lifespan, from young when you're lacking independence and a driver's license to when you're old and you're losing independence. No matter your age, you can have a great experience here. And if you share that vision, then I would ask that you vote for more on November 4. Thank you.
Next ward will be 3, and we'll start with the Republican candidate from Ward 3.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Beck. I'm running for Norwood Ward 3. I'm a new resident to Norwood. I've been here about 2.5 years. Grew up on the west side of town, moved to the east side, moved to St. Louis for a year. When I came back here, I have a very large family. So I decided, where can I go to put myself in the middle of the east side, west side? So it was Norwood. So being here now 2.5 years, I've had more time getting out to all the parks, to even restaurants, bars, everything like that. And I've met so many amazing people in Norwood. I probably have made at least 150 friends. It's great, and I love how everybody just loves Norwood. I grew up in a very big family on the west side of town, and everybody had so much pride in their family, parks, people, safety, and everything else like that. So what we're running on, as long as myself and our party were running as a group, we believe that Norwood needs a little more diversity within city council to have everybody's voices heard. So some of the things we're running on that most people have spoke about is infrastructure, responsible growth, and safety. Now Norwood, growing up on different parts of town, their police and fire department is amazing. Like, I've never seen so much community to help them out and them helping us out and watching over everybody, which is important. I'm a big brother and to a sister and 2 brothers. So to me, it's important to watch out for people. Another thing is responsible growth. Now, we've had a lot of things happening within my ward this year and just recently with large development. Now, for Norwood to grow, it is important. But the thing about it is we need to be responsible. We need to make sure that it appeases to the residents, to the city, and work with a developer to make sure that our voices are heard and we're not rushed through anything. And that we make sure we're more proactive than reactive. And that is something that's very important to me. So I'll wrap it up with that. I just want to say thank you to Norwood Together for putting this on, to the firefighters outside that cooked us food, and for everybody here to take their time out of their night to come see us. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Ward 3 Democrat representative.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gurton. I'm the current Ward 3 representative and running for re-election. Let me just start off by saying that there's plenty of reason to think that Norwood is in a good situation right now. We have reason for optimism. The city is in a good place, despite some recent turmoil. But I think the fact that that turmoil and the fact that we're still functioning unlike our national government shows that we're able to put aside some of our differences and we're able to make sure that we focus on Norwood and not on our differences and move things forward. A couple of things specifically. I want to say that we're healthy financially, and I know that right now we are still under fiscal emergency, and most of that is a paperwork issue. Financially, we have a very strong budget. We have a very strong coffer, our bank accounts in a good place thanks to the tax department and our auditor. And part of my role is to be on the finance committee. I'm the chair. I took over after Candace Winterbauer left. And one of the things that we do is have monthly meetings that she started, and we're continuing. And so the auditor's office, the treasurer's office comes in, they give us monthly reports, they let us know what's going on, what projects they're working on, and I think that's really helped kind of keep a sense of trust in our city hall that we have professional people running professional offices and doing a good job. Something that's before council right now is a street levy that's on council's desk to pass or to not pass. I think it's really important that when we vote on that, if it goes through, that when we vote on that in May 26th, the citizens get a voice in this situation, because we need to sit back and say, are we going to fund our streets slowly through the general fund process, or are we going to fund them in an expeditious way through a street levy? And I think what's important for me in bringing that up is that we need to make sure as council that 100% of that money, if the citizens elect, or if the citizens vote for that, 100% of that money goes to asphalt and not to any other appropriation. And so if I'm on council, one of the things that I'll make sure is that if we do pass as citizens this ballot measure to increase our taxes for streets, that 100% of that money is made sure that we keep that on into our streets. We've talked about infrastructure already, and let me just say that it's great that we're growing. That is something that I think we can all get on board with, that there is development that's happening in Norwood, but we need to make sure that as we grow, our infrastructure goes with it. So when we're growing these big developments, that we have safe streets for our kids to be on, safe sidewalks as we've talked about. But the other side of that is we need to make sure that we're funding our fire, our EMS, and our police adequately to respond to these. Right now we've got a proposal that's coming through the planning commission and through zoning to build a huge retirement community basically where the quality in situation is. That's going to increase EMS runs. We've already got a couple of rehabilitation hospitals that take up a lot of time for our EMS services. So we've got to think about infrastructure in terms of our response time there. These big developments mean that fundamentally our fire department changes the way that they fight fires in Norwood. These buildings are bigger, they're taller than our ladder truck, and so it's gonna take more firefighters to respond to these situations whenever there's emergencies. And that's something that we just had the administration negotiate a 3-year contract. And so that's coming up, that we're gonna have to start thinking about how to increase the staff on our fire department and our EMS services, and maybe even our police services to keep our streets safe as we grow. Let's see. Lastly, I think it's most important that I convey that the city government should work for the people, not for corporations. And so as we grow and as we need these corporations to come in and develop, that we're also making sure that they pay their fair share of taxes so that my daughter can continue to go to Norwood City Schools and enjoy her time there, so that we can fund these infrastructure projects. But I think the number one thing that we as city council need to do is listen to the voice of people and make sure that we are doing reasonable quality of life measures. So thank you for your time.
Ward 4, we only have the Democrat, right?
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Norwood Together and the firefighters for this lovely evening. This has been lovely. My name is Danielle Sullivan. I'm running for Norwood City Council in Ward 4. I am a recent college graduate from Northern Kentucky University, where I studied communication and organizational leadership, which are two concepts that I'm looking to foster in Ward 4 and Norwood in general. So why am I running? First time running for office, what inspired this? So over in Ward 4, we had an issue with a delivery service in a neighborhood that was taking up parking from residents, and it was becoming pretty hostile along the street and in the neighborhood. So I took it upon myself to see what I could do, and I got help from several current city council members and the zoning board, and we have since gotten some geotechnology tracking in place to help protect resident parking, and we have negotiated with the business in order to be a more friendly neighbor. So that was something that got me really excited about just how much, hard work can do in our community, and it inspired me to run. So here we are, and through our community conversations that I've been having, canvassing and going door to door in Ward 4, it has been identified that there is a gap between renters and homeowners within the ward. So something I'm looking at doing is improving communication and trying to engage these populations within the ward. So we're looking into cleanup communities to get out to our parks and rejuvenate them, get community building in our public spaces, and enjoying our Norwood Ward 4. Something else that has come up has been the accessibility of leadership and representation. So I'm hoping to make this role more accessible to the community so we can be engaged and representing our constituents accurately by being available to them. So those are some things that I'm looking at doing. But I appreciate you all being here and caring about Norwood and our lovely community and the future of Norwood. So thank you so much.
We'll go to the at-large candidates, and we'll start with one of the Republican candidates.
Hi everyone, my name's Chad Eaton and I'm running for Norwood Council at Large. I started this journey on December 9th of last year, not knowing what I was getting myself into. Braved the cold weather, braved a couple inches of snow, but one thing I made a priority is to go door to door, talking to people that I have never talked to before. I think going door to door is kind of a lost art that's happening in our community. I really think it's important to talk to each and every neighbor. And I'm not just talking about the ones that live next door to you, the ones that live in your ward. I'm talking about every single neighbor in every single ward in Norwood. I think it's so important because I have found kind of three things that I've heard from residents. Our roads, our big development that's happening throughout the city, and also small business development. Everyone knows our roads are crumbling. It's no surprise. We see it. I walked on Rolston the other day, and I'm really sorry to whoever lives on that road because I thought I was in the 1800s. But the main thing about our roads is that we are about to have this prioritization of roads coming out in 2026. I want to ensure that all areas of Norwood get their fair share of repairs, and not one single ward gets a preferential treatment over another. It's also no big surprise that developments are popping up all over the place, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. In my opinion, I'm for development, but I am for responsible development. Development that will have a great impact economically and socially. We've all heard the residents have problems with big developments happening throughout the neighborhood. I think it's fair that they're having these issues come up, and I think we should listen to them, and I think we should take a proactive approach and start listening to them at the beginning of these developments. And finally, third, is one of the initial reasons why I ran for city council, is to see small business development in our city. If you walk down Montgomery Road, you'll notice empty storefront after empty storefront after empty storefront. I want to be a person that promotes Norwood, someone who shows how great this city is to bring a small business here. And starting a small business these days, it's tough. So let's give small businesses the incentive and the resources for them to thrive. Norwood is at such a critical point, and I think I can be that council member, one of the council members who make Norwood bring Norwood forward. Thank you, guys.
Council at large, Democrat candidate? Is it Cyrus?
Yeah, surprise. Dropping one.
That's right.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Norwood Together, the fire department, police department, my fellow candidates. Thanks to Cyrus for being a good guy. He's already won his council race, so he's kind of just sitting pretty. But this is my third run for council at large. I have served for the past 4 years on council at large, and when I think back on my time on council, the word that comes to mind first is pride. I'm so proud of our city, how we have changed for the better, even with growing pains, and the direction that we're moving in. I feel that if I can continue on council for hopefully only one more term, that I can continue that good work. Despite the fact that many roads are still in need of service, we have made monumental leaps forward with a lot of our roads. And we are continuing that with the construction on Montgomery Road, annoying as it is always going to be, it's never not going to be annoying, unfortunately. Yeah, I brought him here as a, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought, but.
Roads.
Roads, thank you. We have made up for lost time when it comes to a lot of improvements in the city that for a long time it was all we could do to just keep the ball rolling, kind of maintain. We're able in a position where we can build, we can make things even better than they are, renew our parks, renew a lot of these empty storefronts. I want to keep pushing for more small businesses, for more responsible large development, and for more infrastructure investment. And that's why also I'm very excited that the mayor introduced a potential levy for street infrastructure. I feel that this is the way that we can get these roads done in a more timely fashion. We have a budget of about $28 to $30 million. And unfortunately, roads are always getting more and more pricey, so the sooner we can get these roads paved, the sooner we have more money, the better. So for me on council, I want to continue to focus on infrastructure. I want to continue to focus on improving our parks. And I want to make sure that our development economically benefits both large developments and our small businesses, because both are an important part of the fabric of our city. Thank you very much. I hope to see you at the polls.
We can have the Republican candidate for at large.
Thank you. My name is John Atwood. I'm a fellow Norwoodian like the rest of us. And I think that's important that we all remember. We're all Norwoodians. We're not Republicans, we're not Democrats. We all have to live together after this. And that can be frustrating when we're fighting all through this sometimes. But I've lived in Norwood for 43 years now. My birthday was just this week. Well, actually, I was not here the first month of my life. So I guess I can't say born and raised, but I was here, been here a long time. I've been a coach. I help run a church here in Norwood. I'm coaching at the Reds Academy right now with the little girls softball team. But I've been in the thick of things, in the mud, with some people in Norwood who really struggle. Families struggle in Norwood, and sometimes we all miss that because we're all busy with our own lives. And I'm here because I want to help fix that. I have a passion for Norwood since I've been here my whole life. I was frustrated recently, a few months ago. I live my life in service, and that's what this job is. It's a job of service. You know, as a city councilman, you get paid a little bit, but you guys work a lot more than that, right? It's a job of service, and I live my life in service. I'm a physical therapist, assisted living, and I constantly see where people need help, and I can't step past that a lot of times. I was so frustrated because everybody needed me a few months ago, and it was just thing after thing, and my son had called up and he said, "Dad, I need help with this," and I went up there to do that, and I was just so frustrated because I was trying to get something else done. And then I started complaining to my son that I couldn't get everything done, and then I get a call from an elderly person who had fallen to come and help pick them up. And I realized that my life is not my own, I'm here to help others. And that's why I'm doing this. I look at myself as a hedge. I said I work in the church. In the Bible, the Bible talks about hedges a lot. And hedges are tough to get through. They'll have thorns and things like that. I want to be a hedge for Norwood people. People who have been here a long time, people who have been here a short time. We all need to make Norwood better, and we can continue to grow Norwood. And I want to be a hedge around Norwood to protect it from things outside that could be trying to get in. Now, I do realize, and it's an important thing, that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm smart enough to know to go ask the smarter person. Everything I think isn't always going to be the right thing. So I need to talk to people smarter than me. I need to talk to people more experienced than me, and I'm going to do that in this job. Everybody's already, I don't know if I disagree with anything anybody already said. And I know I don't want it to sound like a city council meeting, so I'm not going to do all that. So, small business development, yes, we need to do that. I'm trying to do it myself, and it is so hard in Norwood. Fees are a lot. We need to help Norwood citizens do things and open businesses. The parks, we need to get better with our parks. We need better communication. I've been places and they have these big events and everybody's there and it's wonderful. And I'm like, why don't we have that in Norwood? And I think it's our communication lots of times. And then we need to brand Norwood. Norwood has no branding. You go down Montgomery Road, where's anything? What does it look like? We need consistent branding all down Montgomery Road that says where things are, where to park, and all these things. We need to have vision, and vision is what I do. I might not always be able to administer it, but that's the great thing about being on city council. You envision things, and then the administration administers it. So I'm going to be like John here and vote Atwood for Norwood. See if we can all do it. There we go.
All right, our last at-large candidate. Oh, there's two. Oh, sorry.
Good evening, I'm Susan Hoover, Norwood City Council at large. I've been on council for 2 terms, running for my 3rd. I've lived in Norwood since I was pregnant with my first. I raised my 3 boys here, they're now in their early 20s. While I've not lived here as long as Mr. Atwood, I have lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else. The fact that I raised my boys here and saw them running up and down the street as kids, this is my home. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've done and some of the things I'm going to be doing. The first is I chair the Housing Committee for council, and we've had multiple community conversations which were connecting residents with police as well as other services. We've had a lot of really great conversations with our Xavier student neighbors. Looking forward to having one next week with some council members. On Tree Board, I met with them a few years ago with Candace Winterbauer when she was on council. Trees are only good. I think most people can agree with that. And in talking with the Tree Board, it's like, what is it that you guys need? They're like, well, we need money. Okay, well, Norwood didn't have any money, so what can we do? So I did quite a bit of research and connected with a lot of different organizations and realized that Norwood could get access to funding if we were a Tree City USA. So what were the things we needed to do to accomplish that? We needed to have a full tree board. So I helped in replenishing the tree board with volunteers from the community. I got the tree board connected with a state arborist who is obviously the regional expert on trees. And she helped us to apply for a $100,000 grant for tree and tree infrastructure. Woo! And fingers crossed we'll find out October 15th if we get that. But that's the sort of thing that I do. What can we do with the resources that we have? Another example is the work that I've been doing with the Board of Health. Carolyn is the medical assistant there, and she and I are both pretty passionate about recycling. So we have worked together to create, first we started with prescription bottles, which is a pretty easy ask. Well, now she's working on a community recycling hub for hard to recycle plastics. So like those Skyline containers where you get your spinach, that stuff. All that we can start recycling in the next few weeks, perhaps. Carolyn and I are also working on increasing businesses recycling. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a favorite place here in Norwood that currently 90% of their refuse is recyclable, but they're currently not recycling because they didn't know they could. And if we can get them on board, they'll probably be saving about $10 a month just by flipping to recycling. So that's another thing that we're doing. And we're working on a community composting hub. If you ever go over to Northside, they have these composts all over, compost hubs. So it'll be a locked garbage can. It's going to be at Lower Millcrest. It's going to be contained. You can go and deposit your compost there. We're going to do a 3-year pilot program. It'll be free to residents. And in other communities such as Wyoming and Colerain, they are composting tons of material. And so that's something else that we're working on. Oh, sorry, am I running out of time? Okay, and then real quick, something another one of the council members talked about, a strategic plan, which is something that I have been advocating for since I've been on council, and really excited. We have put together a community survey, and I've been spearheading that. We have almost 1,000 respondents. Excuse me, we're sending that out to not only the residents, but Xavier students and businesses and churches. We really want to get as much information from as many folks as possible, so when we're making our plans, we know where are people's priorities. Are they in streets? Are they in parks? What do they want to see? And that we can create the future of Norwood together as a collective, which I'm really, really excited about. Now on my street on Spencer Ave, we have the next generations of littles running around, and it just warms my heart. And I'm really excited for this next chapter of Norwood. So early voting has already started. I hope to see you guys out there. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Basically, one more at-large candidate.
No, after all that activity, Susan can end. She's been busy. Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Province. First and foremost, it is really good to be here tonight with you all. It's great to be in an environment where we can talk about politics, especially with the state our country's in, and there's no booing. People are listening, attentive. We have both sides of the parties here, so it's really good to be here. So I'm running for council at large. And when I was thinking about today, I really started to think about what I was going to say. I had no clue, but I could not get George Washington out of my head. So I did a little research, and one thing that really inspired me about George Washington, I was reading about him, was the fact that he never wanted to be president. And that's kind of where I stand. It's hard for me to be up here today because I know I'm missing time with my family. And I got a little guy and I got a older daughter who's leaving me soon. So I'm like, oh, I'm missing those hours and time. But what pushed George Washington through his duty. He knew he had a duty to serve his country. And so when Craig came to me and asked me to serve, I said, absolutely not, I'm not gonna do it. And he came to me again, and then he included Susan the next time. And I thought about my duty to this community and why this community is so important and special to me and what I can bring to it. So I said yes, because I can bring government experience. I've served as a civil servant for 20 years in different agencies. I've also served as a military officer for 12. I know government, I know how to work with people, I know how to work with difficult problems. I want to bring that to Norwood to help us create a community that my kids can raise their kids in, because I'm having that privilege right now of raising them here. So I'll keep it short. It's just really great to be here tonight, and I'm just so excited that I have this opportunity to run for office, and I would love to have your support to help move this community forward and make it a good one for our future generations.
Before we get to the judicial candidates, we did have the Ward 4 candidate show up late. I heard he was fishing. I don't know if that's true or not, but do you want to have a chance to speak?
I'll say a few things. I don't really have anything prepared, but I appreciate that. Yeah,
Thank you. 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't need 3 minutes, so. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Most of you guys know who I am. Those of you don't, my name is John Braden. I'm the Ward 4 councilman here in Norwood. I'm super proud of what I do here in Norwood. Born and raised, born at 4735 Section Avenue, and never really went far from there. I'm very invested in Ward 4. Those of you who don't know, I have a business. I raised my family in Norwood. I have a small business here, a contractor. I am a property investor as well, and I just appreciate being here. I appreciate all of you guys running. It's you stick your name out there, and you never know what you're going to get. But I'm really excited for the slate of candidates. I'm excited for myself, and that's really all I have. Nothing prepared. Anybody want to get together with me? I'm always available. I'm really easy to get a hold of, and I'm ready to do so. So appreciate all of you. Thank you.
So we have 2 judicial candidates here tonight. Danielle, you want to start out?
Hello, everyone. So first of all, I also want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate that this community, as I've campaigned and gotten to know people in this community and listening to all of you tonight speak, it really strikes me how kind of tight-knit everyone is and how much you all care about each other, and I really appreciate seeing that. So my name's Danielle Colliver, running for Hamilton County Municipal Court. And so before I talk about what it is I hope to accomplish, I just want to tell you a little bit about who I am. I have been practicing criminal law for about 16 years. That's all been in Hamilton County. I graduated from University of Cincinnati College of Law. Once I graduated, I worked for a nonprofit organization by the name of Ohio Justice and Policy Center. After I left there, I became the training director at the Public Defender's Office here in Cincinnati. I have been an adjunct professor at both of the local law schools, where I trained third-year law students to represent people in municipal court, which is the court I'm running for. About 5 years ago, I went into private practice, and I did primarily criminal defense work, but I also do some civil type of work. Now, in terms of what I hope to accomplish, and I'm going to start by saying I've never run for office before. I'm not a politician. I'm just a person that cares about my community, and I'm a person who cares about the law. I know the law, and I am passionate about making sure that the law is followed. Operationally, I think that there are a lot of changes that can be made in municipal court. To start, the court is still operating on a paper system, and it is not an efficient system. So I think it's really critical that we invest as a court in the technology to have a case management system so that we can look at sentencing outcomes, so that we can look at recidivism rates, and so that we can provide that information transparently to this community. Secondly, I have talked to some of the other candidates that are running for judge, as well as some of the current judges. Another thing that we want to do is create a lounge for police officers in the courthouse. Because a lot of times what's happening is they're working third shift, or they are tired, and what they have to do is they sit in the jury box or they have to wait out in the hallway. If we have a place that they are able to go where they can sleep while they're waiting for their cases to be called, drink coffee, relax, and kind of step away from the stress of their job, I'm very interested in making that investment. And that is an easy thing to do. There is space. More related to the law itself, I guess I should say, is when we are talking about municipal court and the criminal system, the maximum sentence that someone can get is 6 months in jail. That is the maximum sentence on the highest level charge in municipal court. And a lot of the drivers of the behavior in municipal court are substance abuse and mental health issues. And so if we are taking someone with those issues, locking them up for 6 months, and we're not giving them any treatment, and we're not addressing the root causes of what brought them into the system, we are doing nothing to improve community safety. We are doing nothing to improve their lives. So if we make that investment on the front end to address what is bringing people into the criminal justice system, ultimately we can improve community safety, and ultimately we can improve people's lives. So I'm very committed to doing that. I am committed to treating people equally under the rule of law, and everyone with dignity. So I am asking you for your vote. Again, my name is Danielle Colliver. Thank you.
Additional candidate?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Berkowitz. I serve as your judge in the Hamilton County Municipal Court. I also am a very proud Norwood resident. My wife, Beth, and I bought our first home in Norwood. We've lived here for 15 years now. We're raising our family here. And listening to this discussion, which first of all, I want to thank everyone who organized this event and everyone who attended. And I want to thank and recognize all of the candidates and their families. Having done this before, both in Norwood and now in a larger district, it impacts the entire family. It's not me alone up here. It's my wife. It's my kids. So my hat is off to all of you for putting your name in the ring and being willing to get out there and serve and ask for the votes to do so. We bought our home in Norwood 15 years ago, and the reason that we did, or a big reason that we looked in Norwood originally, was because I was an assistant prosecutor at the time. I worked with Norwood police officers. I knew Norwood firefighters. It was that experience and those relationships that drew us here to Norwood, and that experience has paid, or that decision has just paid off in ways, countless ways. And just one example, or the most extreme example that I'll give, 3 years ago, some friends of ours from church had a fire at their home, just blocks away from us. Their son was trapped on the 3rd floor of that home, and Norwood firefighters, I'm going to screw up the details, but I believe it was something like 14 minutes from the time that the 911 was called to the time that they had that young man in Children's Hospital. They saved his life. That's the kind of responsiveness, the kind of close-knit community that we have that just really goes to the heart of why we live here, why we've had such a wonderful experience here, and why I think all of us want to give back to that community. I had the honor of serving as law director for the city of Norwood for 3 years. It was a wonderful experience, both as an attorney and as a resident. And for the last 10 years, I've served as your judge in the municipal court. Municipal court is a wonderful place. It is the people's court. This is where the broadest cross-section of people are coming to court, the highest volume of cases, and it's been a tremendous honor. And I'm proud of my record of service as your judge. I follow the law. I've been consistent. I follow the law. I treat people fairly. I treat everyone fairly. And I work hard every day to keep our community safe by holding dangerous criminals accountable and delivering justice for the victims of crime. I'm proud of that record, and I'm honored to ask for your vote for re-election in just a few weeks and starting now. So thank you very much.
All right, there was an oversight on my part. I forgot 2 elected officials who are running. So we have James Bonsall, if he would like to come up. He's running for treasurer unopposed. So I think he's gonna win, for sure.
Hey, thank you so much, Murph. Hey, even though I'm running unopposed, I still want your vote, okay? Politicians, they count. And I'll just tell you, my 3rd time running, I was on council for 6 years. My 3rd election, I was running against somebody that we all know as Santa Claus, Michael Gabbard. And I always, when I run for office, like when I have an opponent, this year's a little harder to get motivated, but when I run for office, I knock on doors. And so Chad Eaton, that was great. I appreciate that. There you are. And I knocked on doors, and even so, I know I knocked on way more doors than Gabby did. I know I did. But I only beat him by a vote. I beat him by a vote. 1,776 votes. I don't forget that. I beat Santa Claus that year. So we all got. It was an outlier race. We all got elected. It was all good. And I sat next to him for 2 years, and it was very friendly. So now I'm your treasurer. So I was on council 6 years. I ran for treasurer 4 years ago and was elected. And we have done a ton of amazing things. So just real quick, so we hired an investment advisor for the first time ever at the city. So we now have a professional group that's coincidentally is headquartered in Norwood. Their name's Red Tree. They're in the American Laundry Building. But we've got a professional group that has us invested in various bonds and things. It's money that we don't necessarily need right now, but that we will need in the future. So we're really excited about that because as you all see these interest rates go down, we were only invested in like short-term accounts, like really short-term 30-day kind of things. And that's been great for the last few years when we can get 5% interest. But as interest rates go down, that's not going to be good. So we're locking in some of that higher interest now. Last year, we had over $1 million in interest that we earned for the city. So that was a record. Last couple of years, we've had over $1 million. So we're very proud of that. So thank you. From tax revenue perspective, so 75% of the revenue that the city gets comes from earnings taxes. So those businesses that are here that are withholding, that's the large bulk of it. It's like 70% of that, 75. from net profits on those businesses, so that's like another 20%. And then from all of us, like you and I, like the individual filings are another 10 or 15. Don't have the math up exactly, but yes, it's about those percentages. And it changes because we've done things to help make it change. So since 2022, when I first started as treasurer, we're up 23% so far this time this year than where we were so that time in 2022. And that means that's money that we can invest in police and fire, that's money that we can invest in parks, that's money that can go to capital projects, so we're really proud of that. We started e-file for the first time. So e-file, we have a lot of people that use it, yes, so we are really happy about that. And we actually even changed banks as well. So we weren't getting all that great service from the bank that we had. We changed banks and we're saving money for it, getting better service. And they're giving us 3% interest on our checking account that we have with the dollars in, but we were getting like 0.1% in the previous month. So all that being said, we're working really hard for you all. We're gonna keep working hard. I might be unopposed, but please fill me in. We do look at the numbers, we do measure, would still love to earn and have your all's vote. Thank you so much.
The last elected official, President of Council, is Joe Gears. He's also running unopposed.
Thank you. My name is Joe Gears. I am running for my second term as president of Norwood City Council. Prior to that, I served as 8 years as the clerk of council. So if you've watched any council meetings for the last 12 years, 10 of those years, you have either seen my face and or heard my voice reading a lot of stuff. As far as the role of president of council, I basically preside over the council meeting. I have not had to call anyone over here out of order yet. I'm hoping I don't have to in the next 2 years either. But let's see, what else? The council has a standing rules, so each council will enact our own standing rules of council, and I kind of make sure that council is following those rules. Anything not outlined in those rules, we go by Robert's Rules of Order. On a more informal side, we have council committee of the whole meetings. So that is basically myself presiding over the meeting with all members of council. And it is our opportunity to, well, not just, it's our opportunity to speak in a less formal way. So I don't have to recognize everyone. We can have follow-up discussions. Big difference is with committee of the whole, there's no binding action that council should or will take. They can make recommendations out of committee for council to consider, but committee of the whole does not make any, they cannot take any, we do not take any votes in committee of the whole. Let's see, what else? I do have it's a dual role for president of council. It's also vice mayor. I have filled in, not too many, not whole. And the other thing is reminding the mayor to turn his microphone on to speak regularly at council meetings. Green mic. I think that is all that I have. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I will repeat what James says. We do look at votes, even though I do not have an opponent. I would greatly appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
All right, we're at 8:13. I'm going to do the best that we can to ask questions that were submitted. Some, we do, thank you. Thank you for submitting questions. I wish that we could get to them all, but in all honesty and thinking about our time, we could definitely be here a lot longer than anyone committed to this evening. So I appreciate your patience. If there are some questions we don't get to that you want answered, I have them here. You're welcome to connect with someone individually that was directed towards, but I'll do my best. So the first question, and Ron has the microphone. I'm going to direct this question to the John and the John. Oh, did we lose? Oh, both Johns. You guys both mentioned kind of the empty storefronts and some small business ideas. So this question is, what can council do to help bring businesses to our empty storefronts? So we'll go in alphabetical order. We'll start with John Atwood.
Okay, 45 seconds. So, wow. Council can help push on administration, can push on building departments, can push on different things to help push some things along sometimes. We also have to work with the Chamber of Commerce and get them working towards some small business goals with people. I think they're actually hiring somebody here soon to help with reaching out to small businesses. We also got to help get rent for storefronts. Somebody who owns a building shouldn't even have to find somebody to take their storefront. We need to go ahead and have that ready to go, and the city needs to help with that.
John Moore.
All right, thank you. Yeah, one idea that I have for that, particularly with the small business committee of council, would be to almost basically have like a matchmaking service where we have a roll of storefronts that are priority storefronts that we feel like are close to being occupied. And then on the other side, we have a sort of list of potential business owners that maybe have food trucks or shops at the off-bike market, whatever it is. We can say, hey, this particular owner of a property is looking for this kind of business, then we can introduce them and help facilitate that process. I know right now on Williams Ave there's 2 storefronts, one at South Madison, one across from the elementary school. I've been in touch with either the property manager or the owner of both of those, and just trying to connect them with the community so that we can get those filled and get those spaces back activated. Thank you.
Thank you. The next isn't necessarily directed to anyone, so if there is someone who would like to respond to this question, just raise your hand and run, and we'll be right over. For many immigrant children and families in our community, they live with daily uncertainty about safety, housing, and whether they'll be treated with dignity in schools, workplaces, or neighborhoods. As one voice on the council, how will you inspire and mobilize your colleagues to not only protect vulnerable immigrant families, but also create policies that help them feel safe, seen, and fully a part of our community? Is there anyone that would like to address that?
I know this seems like a cop-out question for me to answer because I am running unopposed, but I do feel strongly about this issue. I know I talk a lot when I speak about Norwood and the things that matter to me and where my priorities lie in policy about making folks feel welcome. And obviously in my experience as a queer person, that means one thing, but to an immigrant, that means something entirely different. I think when we talk about DE&I, it's easy to like erase that or think of it as this kind of ambiguous, floaty concept. But part of that is equity. And so I think when we are writing policy, when we are legislating as a community and as a council and as a city administration, we have to consider what equity means. We're giving everybody the step up that they need so we can all be on the same level. And for folks who are coming from an immigrant background, that can mean something very different. So, I know that there are groups of us on council who have worked on providing information to immigrant communities about their rights, about how to interact with ICE should they be present in our community. And I think that that's important. We can't pretend like folks who have lived different experiences than us don't matter or don't exist. And so how are we factoring that and what those folks might need into our policy? How are we considering them? How are we making sure that we're being inclusive? And I think step number one to that, if you're a person who's never considered this before, is just keeping it in the front of your mind. When we're writing policy, how do we make sure that everyone is counted? People can feel however they're going to feel about immigration and how folks get here and what they do once they're here. But in my opinion, if you're in Norwood, you're a part of the community. And so your perspective and making sure that you have the same opportunity and the same safety that the rest of us have is incredibly important. So I think, step number one for me is to constantly be aware that those communities exist and ensure that we are always keeping that in the front of our mind and that we are being inclusive of different types of communities when we are legislating.
Thank you very much. Next question is directed maybe towards the school board. So I know there are the two of you over here and we have one other in the audience. So if anyone feels compelled to answer first, do you think the school board should make decisions on Norwood's development?
Norwood development?
Thank you for that question. That is a fantastic question. And I will answer that by saying yes, the school board should have input regarding development. And the reason why that is because that's how the state of Ohio has set up the funding system for public education. So back in, 1997 now? The state of Ohio was ruled to have an ineffective and unconstitutional funding system for public education. And since 1997, state legislature has just kicked the can down the road for properly funding public education, relying on property tax valuation and funding in order to be the primary driver for funding public schools. And so economic development is a big impact for that. And then for the city of Norwood, let's think about it in these terms. So if we go back to after GM left, and Norwood was kind of reeling from a big corporate entity that just kind of left a big hole. And so if Norwood kind of looked at how they wanted to do development a little bit differently instead of just constantly giving away everything, and they held a little bit more closer to the vest and less on the abatements, the tax base for public education funding would be more like 80% funded from our corporate neighbors and would be a much less burden on the homeowner population, to the point to where some of the levies that have been asked for by the school district to the citizens and fantastically supported over that time would never have had to happen. So let's think, so I'm just gonna let that sink in for a minute. If we ask our corporate sponsors to be fantastic neighbors to the community, it lowers the burden on our residential property owners. And because of that, the school system should have some input in the development of the city. And I'll open this up to any of the other school board candidates. Allison?
You said some good stuff. Isn't it something like our local tax base is 60% of our budget? That's a lot. And our tax base, or our budget for schools, 60% of it is local property taxes. And like Brandon said, it's either paid by you or it's paid by a corporate entity. And if the corporate entity doesn't pay their fair share, then you have to pay more. And that's a lot. And we should have a say in our own budget. And so therefore, we should have a say on development.
Thank you. These are all really good questions. Oh, let's keep it to 45 seconds?
30 seconds.
30.
The only other thing that I would say is that a thriving community is thriving schools, and thriving schools is a thriving community.
Good one.
Thank you.
This next question is directed to Emily Franzen and Cyrus, but maybe just Emily. Where do you stand on DeWine's 90-day ban on the THC and infused drinks for children?
I don't think kids.
If you can elaborate what you meant.
I don't think kids should have THC. I just want to say that really, really clearly. Oh, yeah, so yesterday, Governor DeWine put out a 60-day or potentially 90-day ban on hemp-derived THC. I think for me, I understand the idea behind it because there are some gummies that are just way too accessible for kids. These things at gas stations that are completely unregulated. However, the way that the executive action was worded, it also bans THC drinks that are made by breweries, by people in our community that have trying to transition from alcohol toward THC. A lot of people who are suffering from alcoholism or have addiction issues have found this to be a boon, and it's also decreased the amount of alcohol consumption in general. So I think it's a little bit of an overreach or an overreaction to a legitimate issue. I think it may have been worded more selectively, would have been a better way to do it. But the THC gummies that are sold at gas stations, yeah, get rid of those. But the way that it's worded is going to hurt small businesses, distributors, grocery stores, other people that are doing a really good, interesting thing, keeping away from alcohol, or keeping drinks available for people that are not interested in drinking alcohol. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm doing my best. Sometimes there's some shortcut. This is for anyone who would like to respond. Where do you stand on a tax levy, either for an operating budget, for street, or would you like to comment on speed bumps on residential side streets? I'm trying to combine some stuff.
Hi, thank you. The first question was, see, I already forgot after I stood up, was about the street levy. This was something that we talked about actually a couple of years ago on council. At the time, we didn't have the funding to even do a new survey. One of the things I'm really excited about when Mayor Schneider took office was he did this very professional street survey and went through the process of trying to make sure that when streets were done, they were done distributed evenly throughout the 4 wards. So that's something that's been pretty consistent. And Clint Zimmerman, who's our Director of Public Works, Superintendent of Public Works, he does an amazing job of making sure that he gets the most dollar out of every government funds that he gets. Now that we're in a position where we are able to do a new survey, we're going to be doing, take a look at what all of the millage is of all of our properties, and then we can take a look at what would a levy look like. And I'm very excited to have this conversation. Until we run the numbers, we have no idea what we're talking about. Is this gonna be a $20 additional tax, or is this gonna be a $2,000 additional tax? So we need to have input from the community about what are your priorities, how much are you willing to spend? I've been interested, there are some residents I speak to who don't care at all about the streets. They probably don't live on Lexington, but some people would rather that money go into parks. And I think that needs to be a conversation that we have with our residents. So I'm really excited to have some of that conversation. And then I was gonna say real quick about speed humps, is the current research is showing, while they're going up all over in Cincinnati, the research does indicate that they are not really all that effective, because what happens is people brake before them and then speed up after them. So in those little spots, there tends to be an increase not only of accidents, but of increased top emissions in the air. I am looking to see if there's some new research about the speed humps, and that might be a possibility. But as of now, in my understanding with the administration, is that they are believing that they're not effective. Thank you.
Speed humps, speed bumps, if you go over them at the speed limit, you'll ruin your car. However, Norwood doesn't have that problem because we have inverted speed humps on every street. Regarding the infrastructure and a levy, it's too early, I think, to say you're for it or against it. I think it depends upon where we are as a city in terms of our financial stability and where we stand. I mean, if we are out of financial harm by then, it's going to be a lot easier to get funding, whether it's a levy or not, and depends on what the levy is going to be used for. If it's going to be only used for roads, I might be more for it. If it's going to be used for other things, then maybe not. So, thank you.
I'm pro the operating levy, and I'm pro us putting a levy for infrastructure on the ballot. And speaking of Governor DeWine, I'm also pro the state government giving us, the local governments, our share of the dispensary tax money, which we were promised when we voted THC legalization into law in 2023. So far, no host community has gotten a cent of what we were promised, which could be used, as Joe Gears has said, for potholes.
That was Joe's line.
Love me a well-placed pun. Do we have another candidate that wants to respond? Okay.
One more. Yeah, I think really the question to ask yourself is, like, in the city of Norwood, there's basically 142 lane miles of road, and over the past 6-7 years, there have been maybe 10 or so of those repaved. So, with 130 miles left to go, at about $1 million per lane mile, you can do the math. We're looking at a six-figure, a 9-figure sum to solve this problem. So the question is, right now, with a $130 million problem, we're throwing $4.7 million a year at that problem. 4.7 to get to 130, that's a long time to fix this. And so the question that I would just, residents could ask themselves is, how quickly do I want this done? 4.7 at a $130 million problem is going to take a long time. And if you want it to happen sooner, then that would guide how you would vote on a potential levy next year.
Thank you. So just as a time check, we're at 8:30. If anyone needs to leave or wants to leave, feel free. I'm going to continue on with a few more questions. We started 15 minutes late. If you're okay with going 15 minutes late, I feel like that is what the agenda aimed for. We all right with that? Thanks, everybody. Mom's breaking bedtime. The next question to anyone that would like to address this. If you knew there was a known drug house, sober living, quote unquote, causing harm, threat to the neighborhood, what would you do? And then also potentially commenting on living next door to college students, some of the activities that are happening there. Would you ignore community members who live next to college students is the question. And yeah, the second question that was also submitted is kind of related to homes that have daily gun violence, prostitution, and drug use / ODing. John Atwood. Wait, Chad's going first.
Hi again, everyone. So I have had someone in my life many years ago, who was affected by addiction. And I really think that these group homes in the city there should be some in the city. They should be licensed though. If people are running these homes without a license, I think they should be kicked out. Thank you. I think that they do serve some community members well, but if they are not licensed, they should not be in our city, because that kind of, and if they are relapsing on drugs while in these homes, who knows what can go on? There can be crime, there can be more drug use, drugs being sold to our community, our children, and I believe that, yes, there is a time and a place for these drug homes if they're licensed on a local, state, and if it's on a federal level as well.
Thank you. Any other members?
This is a very apropos question. I got an email this morning about a gentleman who is living near a sober living home. And I'll tell you what I did. I spoke to the police chief. He and I had about a half-hour conversation about this residence. He ran a bunch of numbers. We talked about some of the challenges. He's going to be reaching out to the establishment. I also reached out to the sober living, and we're playing a little bit of phone tag. But my plan is, I'm a social worker. That's my day job, making all the money. So I'm pretty used to working in systems. I'm used to working with agencies and organizations. So what I would like to do is connect with these businesses and make sure that they're being good neighbors. And I would say the same to Xavier residents. We live on Spencer Avenue, which my husband and I used to have a favorite Sunday morning activity, watching the Walks of Shame with our college neighbors. We want people to be safe, we want folks to have a good time, but first and foremost, you're a member of a community and need to act that way. So that means things like picking up after yourself, turning the music down, not urinating in people's yards. These are sort of low bar asks, but having ongoing conversations and encouraging folks to talk to their neighbors and strengthen those relationships, I believe those are the paths forward.
I'm going to go similar to what she said, but what Jeff said earlier, we have a professional police department. We have a professional fire department. They do a great job, and we need to lean on them in situations where they can help us. And we have to give them resources, and we have to support them. We need to fund them correctly. And I don't believe that sober living places, they need to be around, but they need to be regulated correctly. Our building department, our health department need to be involved as well, and we need to lean on our resources that we already have. And we need the people like, oh, she's not even here anymore, Alicia, to have her kids stop throwing candy into the crowds at the college students, so then they won't all gather like they do. So.
Thank you. We got one more. Short and sweet.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep this very sweet. I've had 4 separate residents reach out about this specific house that's being referenced, as well as an additional one nearby. A reminder that I'd like to give everybody is that council, specifically when asking the group of council candidates, we're here to legislate. So there are incredible folks on our police department, incredible folks on our housing board who are going to be there to help enforce those things. What we are here to do is make sure that our city code and ordinances are accurately reflecting our values of what we would like to see come from our city. And what we are all happy to do, I feel I can speak for everyone when I say, is connect those dots. So when folks do reach out and have concerns, being able to then reach out to the appropriate parties who can assist with enforcement and can give us more information is incredible. In terms of the existence of sober living houses or transitional homes for folks who are exiting recovery or who are currently in recovery, in my day job, I work very closely with a lot of folks who are actively in recovery. I work closely with a lot of organizations who provide resources for folks who are in recovery. Addiction is a universal experience. It happens everywhere in the world. It is not the fault of individuals who are experiencing addiction, and it is important that we provide resources to support those folks as they are progressing through that journey. It is also important that the folks who are providing those resources are actually there to support and give those folks resources. Unfortunately, we exist in a world where sometimes when money is offered in exchange for having the appearance of offering resources, it is all too easy for some folks to take that money without turning around and actually serving the community that they are meant to be serving. So unfortunately, that is something that could be happening. And we are really lucky that we have all the folks we do within Norwood who are here to help sort all that out and answer all those questions. And we are going to keep having ongoing conversations about this because it is a complicated issue that we would all love to see solved.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, just doing my best to try to summarize some questions that were submitted by multiple people on the same topic. Switching gears, with the challenges of council with school district and PLK, what would a Republican candidate do to manage the situation? So if there is a Republican candidate that would like to respond, I think it was directed towards. One more time, sorry. Also, it's on a waterlogged sheet here. With the challenges of council with school district and PLK, what would a Republican candidate do to manage this situation or the situations? Thanks.
exclamation point.
I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming they're talking about the newest phase 3 or whatever they're calling it. The one that's created kind of the issue in the last couple months. So,
I think we're talking about the tax part, working with the schools. I've talked with Brandon a lot, and that's a tough one. And it's about everybody coming to the table consistently, and there's not a right or wrong answer when you look at what we're dealing with. There's laws that we have to follow. There's past poor decisions. There's past good decisions that have been made. And what would the Republicans do? I mean, I guess technically right now we're in a lawsuit. Are we still in a lawsuit, Brandon? Well, right now you have to let the lawsuit play out and see how it goes. There's nothing that you can change right now. And I can't comment further than that because here's our problem. We have rules that we have to follow. You have procedures you have to follow, and that's where we're at currently in the situation. That might be not an answer, but it is an answer.
I'm going to stand over here this time. When it comes to the schools and when it comes to kind of the schools and the city council, I think at first there needs to be a lot of transparency in every phase of the process. I think the schools don't deserve to be cut out of the process at any point. I think there should be communication with them at all times because some of these projects, they are getting pretty big CRAs. And if these schools aren't getting money, people are going to want to not send their schools to Norwood City Schools. And if people aren't sending their schools to Norwood City Schools, they're going to be moving out of the neighborhood. And if people are moving out of the neighborhood, there goes our tax dollars. And without those tax dollars, there goes our roads. And once those roads go, we don't have a community. That's how I feel about the situation.
Thank you. Pat? 15 seconds.
It's hard to get into specifics, but I think the responsibility of council is to proactively go and find out what's going on, rather than waiting for things to come to them. It's as simple as that. Proactive engagement with the planning commission, the school board, with whoever else the stakeholders are, and then making sure that the information you find gets out to everybody and you act quickly rather than waiting for the last minute.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. This is to anyone. How will you create opportunities for residents to voice their ideas and concerns and hear about other opportunities? So maybe related to communication. Anyone want to? Yeah, Chad, and we got a James and a Susan.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. If for any of you that don't know, well, I'll stand over here. Just stand everywhere in this room. For those who don't know, I've lived in Norwood for about 4.5 years now. And I didn't know there were Facebook pages. I didn't even know there was a government website when I moved, or until I started running for city council. And I think communication, I think that is one role that council can help out with. They can use their voices, they know what's going on, they're on the front lines of what's happening throughout our city. And I think with well-rounded research, I think they can share a non-biased view of a situation that's going on, so everyone's informed. And I think that's really important for our community to thrive.
Cool, thank you. Susan, James?
Thank you. I want to share that I have been trying to increase communication from council to the community since I've been on board. I actually have talked or sent emails to the mayor about actually having an actual plan. That is not moving forward as of now, but I am pushing for that as a council request for our next fiscal year. I've had a lot of conversations with, I'm on the OKI Regional Board of Directors, and get a lot of input from regional leaders about best practices. And I think that we can implement a lot of those very low cost or free opportunities. I do have a public political page where I try to put a lot of information on, see, click, fix, places to volunteer, list of the ways that people can get information. But I would agree that I think that the current challenges with the development are further proof that we do need to increase our communication, and we just need to continue to push that forward. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So I'm actually not going to talk about the question you just asked. Let's talk about something else. The school district and the city. So one thing, just a positive there, this lawsuit keeps getting brought up. I'll just say that your elected leaders on both the school district side and the city council, everybody right now is working together to kind of get that solved in a way that's actually going to be very sustainable and very long-term for the district. So we as in the city care about the district and we want the district to thrive. I think the way that this is all going to get resolved is going to be in both of our interests, and really looking forward to that being done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on that question? All right, this is, oh, sure.
I think a lot of that has to do with, like we talked about branding before. We have to brand Norwood. And we're the gem of the Highlands, but what does that mean? But we have to have a consistent branding. That would mean signage. Once you have signage that's consistent on Montgomery Road and throughout our city, then you can put up new ways of communicating with residents, then they will know where to go. But until we do those things, somebody new isn't going to know. We can hand them a new Norwood Together bag when they first come in, but lots of those get missed, and nobody knows where to get communication from. And you talk about Facebook, different things, algorithms will shut you out, and you're not going to be seen. So you have to put it out front in physical form so people can see it. So there we go.
I've been trying not to talk because I'm not actually running, but this is something that when I was one of my top priorities is communication and community engagement. I think it's really important that the people who are most affected by an issue are the ones who are trying to create the policies and solutions to fix it. And so as a school board member, I really want to hear from families, kids, parents, residents around what's working and what isn't. And I would hope that the same would be true, and I think that it is, related to the city. I think we're in a really great place for collaboration, and I think we're always stronger together.
Thank you.
Chad.
Sorry to throw my 2 cents in there. One thing that I think is vital to Norwood is Norwood Community Television. The ability to make sure that you can tune in on Facebook or YouTube to be able to keep an eye on what's going on in City Hall. I think they're a vital resource to us. They're also super underfunded right now. They're funded through cable subscriptions, and that's falling short, as people are cutting the cord. And so one of the things that we're looking at in the Finance Committee is trying to find a way that Norwood could possibly, this is early stages, so I'm not trying to speak for anybody here what we're doing legislatively yet. But one of the things we're looking at in the Finance Committee is how do we find money for them in the budget coming up next year so that you will be able to tune in on YouTube and Facebook to make sure that you can watch Norwood Community Television. Because, if people want to be involved, then I think there's plenty of opportunities for them to be up to speed with what's going on. We've put a lot of stuff on Facebook through the city website or through the city Facebook page. It's about people having that access and making sure that if they want to, they can find it. And so I think that's an important thing that we need to be funding next year.
Thank you. Yeah. Just a great last question. I had one more, but I think there's a couple of things that we could easily put into a Facebook chat of questions that weren't answered tonight that maybe you can chime in, we can figure out what that looks like. But I just want to thank everybody for your time and your thoughts and the service that you've put in, whether you're running or have been in a position. Thank you. thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. We went over time. We talked about going over time, so I appreciate that. We went over 3 more minutes. Just a few little things I want to say. If there's some additional questions that came up tonight and you want to reach out to your candidate or you want that candidate to reach out to you, you had an opportunity when you signed in to say, have someone reach out to me. Not many people put some people did, but if you'd like to update your name with that information, we can get those people connected. Also, Election Day is November 4th, but early voting has already started this week on the 7th. Real convenient that the Board of Elections is in our neighborhood, so I know I've gone most of the years because it works easier for me as a working parent to just get there on a Friday when I have a little extra time. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts, respect, and time for this evening. So thank you very much.